Delivery driver's dark experience. Often mentioned to be one of the most dangerous jobs in America, being a delivery driver definitely has its pros and cons. Aside from the horror stories you hear of drivers being called to abandoned houses with malicious intent, being stabbed or even shot, I had no doubt in my mind that I wanted to try out being a delivery driver. My reasoning was led by the fact that it would be decent money for a college student, and I would get to do what I genuinely enjoy doing, driving around blasting music, satisfying my nicotine addiction while on the clock, and getting to explore new roads and various landscapes. I didn't think much about the dangers, but I must have subconsciously realized that the area I was going to be delivering in was mostly a wealthier business district with little crime. My sophomore year of college was over, and after leaving my previous job to focus on my heavy course load, it was time to take advantage of the summertime. I was hired at the first and the only place applied to for delivery. This was about a 30-minute commute from my house, and I would be delivering in a town and city that I previously had no familiarity with. Besides the nervousness of trying to impress at the start of my new job, I was excited to get started and get in my car. I must note that I was never warned of anything or told any alarming stories by any of the management or other delivery drivers. That's because there were none, until I landed a delivery shift 6 months later that would traumatize me and force changes in policies of this company. So it was a normal night per usual, and I was on a delivery to the neighboring city, only about 15 minutes out. There was a confusing numbering system on the small apartment complexes that occupied the left side of the road. I believe that my GPS took me to the right lot, but when I pulled in, I could not seem to find the apartment number that was listed. A nice guy was walking his cute little dog, so I politely asked if this was 22 whatever street, and he responded talkatively. He said no, sadly, that he realizes how confusing these streets can get. Before I get a chance to ask if he knows what direction to send me in, he quickly asked an assortment of questions, none of which made me uncomfortable. He saw I was delivering food and asked what it was. I had not put the light on top of the car, so it made sense that he was curious. Not a crazy amount of places deliver around here. He then got oddly excited, asking if I had a menu, what time we deliver until, and if I am the only one delivering on this Sunday night. After quickly answering kindly and interrupting, I asked if he could point me to the way, because I was in a rush to get back. He said at the moment that he isn't too sure, but insists to walk his dog up to the road while I drive out, so he could help me figure it out, I guess. After about a minute or two of navigating, he said where to try next. I thanked him, smiled, and told him to feel free to call for a delivery, and I'll be back out with your food in no time. I said this because he said he was starving, asked for a menu, and seemed to be excited about the fact that we delivered. As the night came close to an end, I was hoping I didn't get any more delivery calls after 9:15. Delivery shut down at 9:30, but if a call was placed anywhere before that, I would be stuck driving and not get out till at least 10. What do you know? An order was placed at 9:20, and I would leave with it at 9:40. At this point, I'm on autopilot and just following my GPS, not paying any attention to where I might be going, as I recognize the similar street, which I had only been on for the first time today, and hear my GPS say to turn left in 0.2 miles. I realize it has to be that guy that helped me out earlier. I pull in, I park, approach the door, and I knock. I hear faint music that seems to have gotten louder after my knock, so I rang the doorbell. I'm greeted by the friendly man, both of us smiling at each other. "I guess you decided cooking wasn't for you tonight," I said lightheartedly with a humorous manner. He then said something along the lines of, "Cooking isn't something I would waste my time on. Plus, I believe raw food is the most authentic way to feast." I laughed, thinking to myself that this guy is definitely an odd one. He insists that I stepped in and put the bags down in his kitchen. Most of the time, though, I don't go into the customers' homes, because it wasn't so uncommon. I calmly step in, and he says to take off your shoes. Now, this made me uncomfortable. Never have I been told to come in someone's house on my delivery job, and then told to take off my shoes. This is an in and out job. I was not here to sit down and kick up my feet. I figured this guy had some issues or OCD or something like that, so as I slipped my shoes off, this moment seemed to be moving in slow motion, and last longer than it did. My eyes fixed on this strange runner and small carpet next to a shoe rack that was made of what seemed to be black feathers. Simultaneously, I am listening to the song he was playing, which gave me a sense of extreme discomfort and anxiety. It was scarily familiar. I felt almost as if I was experiencing the feeling of déjà vu. I followed him to his counter and I placed the bags down, next to what looked like a stuffed crow nativity scene. He sees me examining it and says, "Did you know when a crow dies, a mob of 100 live ones will gather in ceremony? It's their way to learn about threats, and they hesitate to revisit locations where they have encountered a dead crow." I pulled out the payment slip for him to sign and shook off his previous statement saying, "Interesting." As he signs, he continues the subject and said something about how he thinks we can learn a lot of lessons from the behaviors of crows. I thanked him again for signing, and as I moved to walk out and said, "I'll have to look into that," hoping to shut him up about his obsession with crows. As I'm putting my shoes back on, he says, "One last thing. If I said someone was killed here, would you be hesitant to come back? If I said I was responsible, would you revisit this location?" At that moment, I panicked, sped out, and fled to work with thoughts rushing through my head. A couple of sleepless nights after that, and 5 months later, and the run-in continues to haunt me. Looking back, it seems as if he saw something about me that made him want to know if I was the only delivery driver working. After telling him our close time for delivery, it seemed like he purposefully planned to wait till the latest possible time, ensuring he would be my last delivery. I really still think about what this man is up to every single time I work. Fist through windshield? This interesting encounter happened to me not too long ago while I was working. I work as an on-demand delivery person on the weekends. The service is kind of like Uber, except we deliver packages instead of give you rides. Anyways, I was sitting in an apartment building parking lot, just waiting for my next delivery to pop up on my smartphone, when I suddenly hear a female scream very loud. I look around and try to determine its source, and as I was doing so, I heard a man yelling angrily towards a parking lot. Now, I don't know what happened, and I couldn't really see where he was at that moment, yet. But I could hear this man screaming profanities, and getting louder and louder by the moments. Finally, I could see a man running around the other parked cars in my direction. At first I thought he was chasing after someone, but I didn't see anyone else running by. That is when it hit me. He was ticked off and coming after me. Like I said before, I had been sitting in my car minding my own goddamn business for about 20 to 30 minutes now. I absolutely had no idea where the scream even came from, or who this man running towards me was, with this look of pure hatred in his eyes. The man reached my passenger side window, which was thankfully rolled up all the way, and yelled out, "What did I tell you?" And I just froze there, looking confused as heck. He then yelled out, "I fucking told you, you little shit!" And then punched the passenger side window with his fist, as hard as he could. I knew that if he managed to break the window, his hand would be pretty messed up, to be honest. He screamed, "If I catch you around here again, I'll cut your fucking throat clear open," at me, then punched my passenger window even harder. I was still frozen, not really sure what to do. Eventually, the man simply spit out my window and began to walk away, looking over his shoulder as though he still wanted to kill me. I placed the key in the ignition and began to back out of the parking spot and tried to figure out what in the world had just happened to the drunk dude who happens to fly off the handle at random strangers for no reason at all, to be honest. I'll be delivering a lot more in the future, and if I ever do, I hopefully will never meet you again. So let's not meet. Thanks. Scariest delivery of my life. I used to, and still occasionally do, work as a delivery driver for my dad's Thai food restaurant. If I can remember correctly, the night I'm about to describe happened no more than a year ago. I can't be sure on a date, or even the season it was in. The restaurant I deliver for is very popular, but only to a smaller crowd. In the surrounding average-sized 2 or 3 towns, it was a Thursday, and the amount of deliveries on a Thursday night were always very small. I had a delivery to a house about 5 miles away on this deeply wooded back road, which I'd delivered to before. The road was so dark at night time that when you turn your headlights off driving down it, you are blind. There was not a street light for at least a couple miles, and the house I need to bring this food to had the most secluded house in the whole town. Not secluded as in no neighbors or buildings around it secluded, but secluded as in no one can be living there secluded. When I started driving there, the sun was about to start setting. The food was in the back, everything was normal, and I was listening to music. The 5-mile drive was quick, but when I got there, I noticed the receipt of the bag of food I was supposed to deliver read the number of a house that didn't exist on that road. The number was pretty similar to the house I had in mind, the secluded, abandoned-looking house that I delivered to before. I assumed that the phone girl must have wrote the wrong number at the front desk, because she did that a lot, and I know this was the house that called. As I pulled in the driveway, I noticed the sun was at the point of setting, probably 10 or so minutes until it got terribly dark to be in the middle of the woods. There was still some light left outside, and I was okay. I had the headlights on very bright, so it wasn't as creepy. So I took the bag of food and went to the front door, knocked a few times and waited for about a minute, knocked again and waited for about 20 seconds. I decided to go to the back porch, since that's where everybody was when I delivered last time. Knocked loud. No answer. Figured maybe I do have the wrong house after all. So I went back to the car with the food and decided to call the phone number on the receipt. Dialed it up and let it ring. 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 No answer. Then I decided to call my dad, who was the owner, to ask him if I was at the wrong house or if he had given me the wrong phone number, because these people were obviously not home at this moment. I was the only car in the driveway. As I'm looking for my dad's contact number in my phone, a blocked caller comes across my screen. Answer or decline. I answered my phone, not even feeling the slightest bit creeped out yet. I put the phone up to my ear. Hello? Hello, you just called me? Mike? Kid you not. In the deepest, weirdest, most authentic sounding voice I've ever heard. It was a clear man on the other line, with a distinctive accent like nothing anyone could just make up that I know of. It was foreign, and there wasn't anyone I called recently. I've been working for the past 2.5 hours. My name wouldn't be able to show up on someone's caller ID anyways, because I was on my mom's phone plan. Yes, did you order Thai food? I'm here now. No, I didn't. And they hung up. What the hell? Why doesn't this man want his food now? What is going on? What is going on here? How could he know my name? Block number? Why? So I called my dad sitting in the driveway. Sun about to set. He told me that he would call them and call me back. Okay. I waited. He called me back really quick and told me that they would be right out to get their food. I was at the right house. I asked my dad, and I even called the number, the right number. The most normal-looking guy walked outside the front door, and I gave him his food, only for him to pay and thank me in the most polite, normal-sounding friendly accent and tone imaginable. This was not the guy on the phone. I got back in the car and put it in reverse. I drove back to the restaurant. The sky now pitch black. Every time I got a block call now, I won't pick up.